o te whatalofa atu ma le whaaloalo le whawhonganga le atunu o le nei tuaso o ma whatasi ma le whaipole o mana Honourable Barbara Edmonds ia tata nofo I tūlanga o iei I le ngalwenga le whapalemene I le nei tu a waitau o soifuanga. Talofa Barbara, nice to have you here this morning.
Yeah, maloresi for manuia. It's really nice to be here. And I think it's probably a good time to be here too. Yeah.
Yes, after our last interview on air, and I said we'll try and keep it on a regular basis, you know, but now, given that you've been given all these other new sort of roles, I think it's going to be a bit hard for you to get to here.
Oh no, I'll always have time for Sāmoa Capital Radio.
Okay,
you know, it's really important to me that our Samoan community here in the Wellington and the Lower North Island have that opportunity to hear from me directly. And you've been great supporters in providing me an opportunity and a platform. So no, I'll make sure it's in the diary.
Shall I say on behalf of our board and our staff, but especially our listeners, community of listeners, congratulate you for your recent appointment to the role of spokesperson finance for the Labour Party.
Yeah, it's thank you very much for Lava. It's a very big honour for me. It's an honour for my family, you know, and our Samoan community. For me, it's very much a reflection of my party, the Labour Party, understanding what the Pacific community brings. And I obviously, I have that career in tax and finance and economics, but first and foremost, as my father would always say, you're a Samoan woman. So I'm honoured to have it. And I was told on the day, and I didn't know this, I'm the first female finance spokesperson for the Labour Party. Yes. So very honoured to take it on.
No, it's very good. I think the first time we got on air, and then you were the chair of the Parliamentary Finance and Select Committee. Yeah. And I said, well, no, I can see you being a finance minister and sometime in the future stay around. And now you're a spokesperson of the opposition of the Labour Party. Yeah,
it's a big role. And it's, you know, part of it is I've got to hold the current government to account. So, you know, I'm up against a very formidable politician. Nicola Willis, who's the Minister of Finance, but we come from very different perspectives and different backgrounds, you know, so hold them to account for their decisions. You know, the second thing that I'll be focused on is getting out there. I'm going to have to go across the country and meet different sectors and listen to them as to what they want to see to make New Zealand's economy grow and thrive. And then thirdly for me is I need to be put together the fiscal plan and the costings for Labour to take into the 2026 election. And so those are three very big roles. And yeah, I'm just taking the approach of just taking it step by step.
All right, let me try and say something in Samoan for our listeners. Yeah, I don't know to whawhonga mai la for whawhelo. I just told my lo whawhonga, yeah. Le sunga Honourable Barbara Edmonds. Ia pena yelu tūlanga I tono palimene ne vaitau. O le vai aso nei sa tofia o ia avea ma le so upupo o ia whaiatala lato pāti le Labour I tu tau tupi. O le lato spokesperson and finance le Labour Party. O ia la leo sui tūlanga pea o mole masino o le wa matanei a on masino mati le tu e wha o mole ngā luenga a Grant Robertson. O ia le sa avea minister tupi. Ia leo wili tua ngai nei, ia o ia nai whai ia so upu I tūlanga ia. Ia leo wa whiwhiri ai nei ia Barbara, ma o le tamaita I momua leo o ia I tonu stoi whapea I le pātia le Labour. Ia ai whae atu nuu fo I mo tātou ia o le Sāmoa. Ia po le Pasifika fo I o te momua fo leo o as tūlanga maurunga whapea tātou. Ia tonu sa ili mālo lea no mai I nei tua ao Barbara mai aso. Peo tano so oi. No mai nei tau mwhai e ati ai ngai Sāmoa. Ia so swani alum whanau wā onga. Ia ma whaistato sau New Zealand. Lea la ua whawau e papa le tofinga ne ia e te le leo o whaisala ne sau noanga. E te le taimila malanga solo I New Zealand. Ma talatana noi vāinga sesi. Ina ia malama I naonga ma whinangalo whaario le atunu. E tai lima ina ila na ia mfautu ina fo le tai ingo la na ia ngal benga fo I stay mita no ti mita upu ia lela fa so atul mata la no ni si mita upu. Barbara, it's a big week this week, an announcement about Whanana Efeso Collins. And I thought of you, and I thought Ensepuloni when I saw the press conference on TV and how, you were very mafatia, the way that, and then I thought you probably were in the university same time as
Whanana.
Whanana.
So Whanana Efeso, or Fez, has known him for a long time. Went to university with Efeso. Actually, when I had started my degrees, he was starting his masters. So, on the periphery, always looked up to him. He was the man on campus. He knew everybody. He was the Auckland University Student Association president. Our Pacific Island Student Association. He led that as well. My paths really crossed is because Efeso. He managed what's called the Mates mentorship. He was one of them on the mentorship to help Pacific and Pacific kids stay in university. So have known of Efeso and looked up to him, since back in the 90s, and then more recently supporting him through the Auckland mayoralty bid. Yes. So in 2022, Efeso ran for Auckland mayoralty and he wasn't successful. But that was very much the Labour Party and the Green Party supported Efeso and supported him through that campaign. And then obviously just, really proud of him when he finally made it to Parliament. As Carmel Sepuloni said, he'd been a member of the Labour Party for a long time. And then he found his home with the Green Party. But, he's gone into one whale and we're next door though. So... it was a really a shock, yesterday when I found out. Efeso's last social media post was congratulating me on my new appointment the night before, and we had been in contact through private messages. So it was a huge shock, and really he leaves such a big gap for our Pacific community, which I know our community will rise to and will fill it eventually, but his wife Fia and their two girls, they were his life, and I just want to acknowledge them and his wider ainga and his mum, because it's going to be a difficult time for them, but we want to support them in any way that they need.
It'd be honest, all the commentary and things that just come on the media about his life, not only in university, First Pacific Island, Sāmoa, to be the president of the Student Association at Auckland University. And then he appears to be leading all those new innovative ways of trying to help and break some of the barriers in the country, for Pacific. So it's a shame that he passed away at the age of 49, very young.
Yeah, it's very young, and again, I think we've spoken about this before on the show. Our Samoan men need to get your health checks. There'll come a time where we can honour him in a particular way. He died giving back at a charity event. But for our Samoan men is, get your 6 monthly checkup. Make sure that if you've got symptoms of something, get it checked. Don't push it off. We need our Samoan men. We need our men. We need our fathers. We need our uncles. We need our brothers. So it's a complicated time, but it's one of those. I think the best way to put it is one of the reporters said that there was a tsunami of grief that came through Parliament yesterday, and I think that's very reflective of it.
His maiden speech in the House. Usually you do the valedictory speech, but that would be his as well, I guess, because he hasn't got a chance of saying it now.
Yeah, it has. His maiden speech has become his valedictory speech, and it was such a powerful speech, and I really recommend anyone that has an ability to go and watch it. It makes in his passing and re-listening to his maiden speech, because I was in the House at the time, so our Pacific Caucus went to support him. It was just very much, just hammer home why we're here. We have shared values. Our parents came here so that we could have a better life. but that doesn't remove our responsibility to our community to support them. So, really going to miss my friend, and we will just step through this as we go through the next few weeks.
And when he took the Auckland
University.
When
Mayoralty.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then he called out racism.
Yeah.
Because when he took his family in, they thought that they're probably just publicans coming in there when he's up.
Yeah, well, I'm sure many of us will have those very similar instances. I think it's a thing with Efeso where he wasn't shy to call that out, when he called that program 10/7, Police 10/7, Bubblegum TV, because basically providing that stereotype that Pacific and Māori people are just criminals,
Yes.
He was really, he would pick at it and be happy to stand up and speak about it loudly. And I think that kind of fire that he had, it's something that I think I'm going to have to learn from. How he did it in such a way that it still meant that people had their mana, but calling out the badness in it. Yeah,
it's the way you deliver it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I admired
not being
him.
nasty, but the message is getting through.
Yeah, the message cuts through, but you can still deliver it in a respectful way.
And he spent 3 terms on the Auckland Council.
Yeah, he's a very well-respected councillor. A lot of the people that are supporting his family at the moment are Auckland Council staff and members, councillors. So, he was very well-loved across the country. He's probably, in my perspective, one of our most high-profile Pacific commentators. Yeah. He cut through mainstream. Lots of mainstream media would go to him. We were all proud of him within our own community, but I know that his impact his loss will be felt across all parts of New Zealand.
There was a time on Q&A when he kept appearing on those programs, and I watched him and I thought, very good.
Yeah, intelligent.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, it's a shame that we miss him. And after the mayoral run in Auckland, then he went and joined the Greens instead of staying with Labour. It's one of those things, just like any family, you're not always going to be happy with how things pan out, and relationships can be complex. But, like the last message, like we were exchanging messages the night before he died, and he sent me a private message to congratulate me on getting the finance role, and said, looking forward to me being the finance minister in 2026. I just said, thanks, brother. And that's what he was. He is our brother. Yeah, so. And his death made it the second person of the Green Party that died in office.
Died in office. The first one was Rod Donald.
Yes.
But actually, we haven't had a death of a sitting parliamentarian in 50 years. So Parliament was actually sitting yesterday. Right. So we haven't had a death in 50 years. The person before that was Norman Kirk.
Yes.
So quite an interesting thing that happened yesterday. The Te Pāti, our Labour Party and Te Pāti Māori, we just happened to go in to see the Green Party at the same time. So we went and saw our friends and was comforting them. And the room that we were in is the caucus room, the Green caucus room on level 2 of Parliament. That used to be Norman Kirk's office. So there was little things that basically, it's 50 years this year that Norman Kirk died in August. It'll be 50 years. So Parliament yesterday suspended, so that means we had a couple of speeches, and Parliament was due to sit today. We will now no longer sit until next week, Tuesday.
Oh, well, I guess, all our thoughts are for the family, and all our community are very close, and yourself, from us here. Ole, vaenga pia matalta noe ni to whaafonga mai fo I te reo o ngā ruenga ma tō whinga fo I sa ia le nei au auna le atunu ia o lea o whainangia na whalaunga pe o na mau fo I tala I tato talafou. Ma newa ia so ia re mataltana noa ma prapa tu sai fo I ma ngā ruenga na ia whai au kilani ia ma pāti ma o mal tō whinga ia nei ia ma e fo le la ua wāwala lata wa le sa o ngwhatasi I Taimi University au kilani. Ia o le sa taitai o tangata Pasifika le sa taitai ia le university ia fo I Tamamatene University I o lea fo I sa te le tolu tausanga o iei tonu o le pulenga nuu. I sa iei fo I tonu I au kilani, I le taimi lea sa ta moe ina I avea ia ma pule nuu o au kilani. I leo se ngalwenga la titi lea sa ta moe fo ia nei tamari o lea tunu. Ia alea o na umalona na saurola ia wa mo iei tonu au waile green. Ale pe ta ue papa o le malamana iei o le sasi lea tangata le stala I lalo le parti ale Labour. Ia alea wa whaate ia umala ato I whape ma le green I mala tatou atoa ina ua maua le tala ia ua fo I wa miel tatou tamai le langi I au kilani. Ia ato no le whanono whaatasi umatatou ia matatou mantua tausanga le ainga le tina mo le whanau ia ma le ainga ato ia matatou ume lata fo I le nei tamari o le atunu la amisia ia le ngate tatou lona ainga o tatou tangata Pasifika lata ia amise fo I whainga upu I tono palemene a le taimu mo le peo na whaamtala Barbara 5 tausanga taluai to amaliu le tangata o Norman Kirk o le tasile o sa palemia fo New Zealand na maliu a o taimu o iei tono o le whainga malo ia lona lua le o tangata ia Collins ia fo ia whanana o le o maliu a leite tono o le whaipule tono palemene New Zealand a tono ala le parti ale green ia o to lua le o tangata malidiu o Rod Donald le lua afe malidima ia ma whanana le teimi nei to I whatalo fatu le whafonga le tino ma whatasi ma le whaipule o mana Barbara Edmonds ia o le eftu atofia nei le whainga parti ale Labour o ia o le lato so upule I mta uputau I tupi finance ia mani atonu pole ale tau manga o ngarwenga fo palemene a te uto pale mele le ia atonu o ia le la ve minsta o le mta uputau tupi tonu le tino New Zealand e pe ona mo foi o le taimo mone o este tamaitai topa tamaitai I te tonu to finga le tonu parti le le ia me tonu New Zealand atoa Barbara let's come back to your role. How do you see, before I was just dealing with local issues, now that, you know, before you traveled the whole country where you come and then you came out and now, but this one here, you need to more or less travel the whole country to see and probably the world to see what's happening in other parts and then try and figure out how you want to drive your new role.
Yeah, so the portfolio of finance is effectively the person who the party looks to provide our economic vision. You know, and what we call fiscal strategy. Fiscal strategy is basically how the government spends money, you know.
Yeah.
For me, it will require a lot more wider network than I have. Yeah. So obviously with my tax career, I've developed very good relationships within different sectors, especially the business sector.
Yes.
The thing is with this finance role, it now expands that. You know, I've got to look outside of just Auckland and Wellington where my bases are strong. I now need to look across the country. But the way I see that particular role, you know, the priorities for me in the next 2.5 years is, one, I have to hold the government to account. You know, the current government came in with some very big promises around tax cuts and in their coalition agreements, you know, they've got a retrospective tax credit or deduction, which is called deduction, for landlords. So it's going to go back. So landlords are going to get refund for taxes that they paid, you know, for the previous income year. Those come with big price tags.
Yes.
So my job as the finance spokesperson is hold them to account for those decisions, because that money has to come from somewhere. And the government has already made it clear. There's three very clear examples of where they're taking the money already. One is they're cutting back on public services. They've asked government agencies and departments, some of them to find 6.5% savings, some to find 7.5% savings. So for the Ministry of Pacific Peoples, they need to find 7.5% savings. That means job losses. You know, job losses or cutbacks of services that they deliver to a community. We've seen it as well with them with the Smoke-Free Act repeal. They want to basically bring the law back to what it used to be. so that they can bring in around $1 billion worth of money from smokers. The third area where it's quite clear that they're saving money is they've just passed legislation this week which changes how benefits are calculated. So the way before benefits used to rise with inflation.
Yes.
But Labour a few years ago, we changed it to rising with wage growth, because wages typically rise faster than inflation. So National has said, no, we're going to go back to the old way, which is inflation. And as a result of that, they save around $690 million. So they're cutting back on money for the lowest paid people in our country. Our view is they're cutting back on public services, and they're requiring people to keep smoking and make it harder to quit. So my job as number one is to hold them to account for that. The second thing that I have to do is spread those networks, develop more relationships with business, rural unions, non-government organisations. And then thirdly, probably one of the most important things is I need to basically, with my party, design and make sure it's fully costed the plan, the fiscal plan we take into the 2026 election. And we need to make sure it aligns with our Labour values. So it's three very big parts to the role, but it's something I think just take it step by step. And, you know, Chris Hipkins would not have given it to me if he didn't think I was capable of doing it. So, yeah, big role.
So obviously you've been involved in some of these things, so you've already got some ideas of what you want to, so, you know, half the work is done.
No. I would say that only probably a quarter. You know, I've got that base knowledge of finance and economics and tax systems. But actually, you know, it provides, Chris Hipkins said when we lost the election, our policy platform now is a blank piece of paper. We can start, reset, we can start again. So that's why for me a big part is I've got to go and develop those relationships and listen to what people need and want, and then balance that up and build it into a plan that we can sell in 2026.
Parker and Grant Robertson were doing some work on the tax, you know,
a tax switch,
reform and thing, and that didn't happen. And I guess you'll probably have to revisit some of that work and see what's appropriate going forward.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, the good thing is we've got some base knowledge there. You know, we've had a tax working group as well that Labour had in 2019. National had a tax working group with the Victoria University one, I think, which is 2015-17. So there's a lot of data, information, policy views. But again, the great thing for me is now there's a new finance spokesperson. I get to reset it the way that I want to do it.
Right. Oh, well, good luck to you, and then we'll try and find out exactly where things are heading. But this thing about the bashing the beneficiaries, I thought, well, why are you doing that? It was their government in 1990, I think, or some earlier years, that actually did something similar to the benefits. And we've been trying to catch up since. Yeah,
the Welfare Expert Advisory Group, that was their recommendation to change the way you lift benefits to wage growth. The Children's Commissioner, when we did this, basically said it is the single most significant policy decision to bring children out of poverty. The data that the National Party basically based their decision on clearly showed between 7,000 and 11,000 children will remain in poverty as a result of this change. 7,000 to 11,000 children, they believe.
Yes, that's a lot.
So, you know, the crude politician in me would say that the National Party doesn't care about the beneficiaries because the beneficiaries don't vote for them. But actually, what it comes down to, and this is for me, is that they have to pay for their promises they made at the election. They have to pay for those tax cuts, so they're just going to take the money where they can. All
right, so let's watch the space and see where things are heading. And then obviously you'll be involved with. Be interesting to see you having a go against the Willis.
Yeah, I've already had a little bit of a go with her. First question time, and then I've had her at select committee. we're just very different styles. You know, she's very political. You know, she's done communication, she's done politics. You know, that's what she's done. I come from a very different background. You know, very different. You know, we weren't brought up with money. You know, when mum died, dad was on the benefit. You know, for me, so we have very different perspectives as to what's important for people in life. And we will have very different styles. For me, I probably would say I have a much more technical style that leads into politics, whereas her is more politics that leads into technical.
Right. Okay. Let's park that. We'll hear some more in future. Your mana electorate. So with this new role, they don't want you to
No, I'm not going anywhere. No, and there's lots happening in mana. You know, just this morning I did a speech for the social supermarket. So it's called Te Umu Ki Rangituhi, or the social supermarket that's run by Ngāti Toa Iwi.
Yeah.
It's up on Unit 3 Raiha Street. That's the one that just goes, you know, where the Toyota Rutherford and Bond, and then it heads towards Rangituhi, the Colonial Knob. So it's just there. That social supermarket is different to a food bank. You know, food bank, people that need food will go to a food bank and they get a parcel. At this social supermarket, people get points, it's like 55 points, and then they go into a supermarket. It's a supermarket. And they get to pick things, and it's not $1 or $5, it's 2 points or 3 points. And they get to fill their trolley with what they need. So up to their 55 points. So I was at that today. Last week we opened up the Orange Sky van, a partnership between the council, Ngāti Toa, and Orange Sky, and that's shower and laundry services for homeless people. So there's a lot happening in mana. I went to a wonderful graduation, for Etu Ao, the Tony educators. So these are mums and daughters who they stay home and they look after their grandchildren or their children or their nieces and nephews. Whānau Manaki educates them so they can get their level 4 certificate in early childhood education. So I went to the graduation, the recent graduation of 6 of their students. Only 5 were available, and Sāmoa, Cook Island, from Kiribati. They basically, it's just an opportunity for them to get educated and get paid for it, and to teach others. So lots happening in mana, and it will be a balance. I'm just really fortunate that for me this is home. It's close to Parliament. I'm home every day. My children have so much on. So it's going to be a balance. But I managed 9 portfolios when I was a minister. I'm pretty sure I should be able to manage this one.
You'll manage the whole lot. Overviewing the financial.
Overview of every policy in some ways, because every government, every policy will cost something. And it's my job is to make sure we account for that cost and how much is it going to cost in the long run. Well,
also your previous experience, your role as the chair of the parliamentary...
Finance and Expenditure Select Committee.
So you saw exactly where the money was going and where...
Yeah, we do. And we delegate some of those reports to other select committees. But I think having had the chance of being in Cabinet for 10 months... and basically having a really wide portfolio base, I think that gave me good grounding for this.
Barbara, thank you very much for making time available to come here. I'll just say a bit in Samoan for some of this thing, and then we'll wrap up. I don't know more whawhanga tu isi teimi matatanoa tu le tai au pokala masani afole iwa tau afole sfulu. Ma wha manino atu nisi o vaenga ia pena matanoa. A lentana noa le nong to finga mo le wha tinongo ngā luenga. Ye tele ana isi vaenga ye le level time to la ye na tanonga ye fi fai ala tam fai e vatai au pe a mol po kalamena ali mesiri avel tato fa monianga ya Barbara ye o le o to fia ne o ye le la fa so open on a party le lipa I mata o tau tupe a New Zealand ya mata to talo fo Emmanuel ne ye tam fai nga no fo inga I ia ma atonu Emmanuel fo lumana ia atonu te o pale mai ave lole minister tupe ia o te mumona na ista tanga te Sāmoa. Ai le ngata ina, o le tūpao te maitai e Pasifika. is a tono Panamini New Zealand. Papa, thank you for coming in. I will talk a bit more about this in our program tomorrow morning at 9:30 in the language in Samoan. But all the best. We wish you well. And then we're looking forward to when you ever find a little bit of time, you know, either if you can't come in, ring and we'll put you on.
Sounds good.
And we can talk.
Always make time for Sāmoa Capital Radio and your listeners. Always make time.
Yeah. So final comment for you, for our listeners and your Electron Mana listeners.
Yeah, just thank you very much for your support of me. This has been a journey, I think, for all of us. You know, when I first came to Sāmoa Capital Radio, I was a brand new MP. I just want to thank you all for the support that you've given me over the last 3 years. But, you know, as we go into this next chapter for our Samoan community, we've lost one of our own very important person. I think we all just need to take care of each other, get your health checks, especially our men. I'm looking at you, our men. Get your health checked because, you know, we need to have our mothers and our fathers and our aunties and uncles. So let's just praying for Fia and the girls and for the Collins family.
Yo na foi wa toi mai lu tau le tu pa o tama foi pa pe ina ia man tu fa ita tu siaki. E mo ten tu pa vo tama ita man tu e ta wo mai ta to uma. Ia wal tau singa ainga. Ia fa manuia te foi ita tu le ngatil tata o whaafonga ato ia me se fo ila ato i nei lona i tū maa rolo tū lai mai ai i ning tūwhinga whaapane mini. I o tato po kalame nā mo se siam noto tatano te momoa i o te mini mat whaatofa, whaatsoifua.